Hello and welcome to the May 19th edition, 2018 of the From the Bench podcast. I'm your host, Mark Janish. Just wanted to spend a little bit of time with you today covering a range of sports. First and foremost, the FA Cup, 137th rendition of the FA Cup from Wembley Stadium in London today. That was Chelsea 1 and Manchester United nothing. Just want to let you know that even though it was a yellow card in the ninth or 10th minute that caused a free kick to be acquired by Chelsea. Chelsea won. And Manchester United nothing. So we're looking forward to another excellent UCL Cup Champions League coming up, and want to let you know that was a great game. Unfortunately, Man U just could not get it going. Man U had an excellent time of possession. I don't have the final stats in front of me, but I do know that at the end of the first half, about the 46th minute, this was in stoppage time, the time of possession, or the possession of the ball, was 65-35 in favor of Man U. That, of course, leading up to the World Cup in Russia 2018 starting on June the 14th. Now, in the United States, that'll be seen on Fox network stations or FS1. Check your local cable and satellite listings for dates and times in your area. Looking forward to the World Cup. I also want to let you know, for programming purposes, the MLS podcast, Extra Time podcast, is up as well. I am updating MLB every day. NHL, the Vegas Golden Knights have taken a 3-1 lead over the Winnipeg Jets in the NHL Western Conference playoffs, looking for the Vegas Golden Knights to, I'm not going to say do the impossible, but they are headed toward Stanley's Cup. Perhaps the Washington Capitals and the Tampa Bay Lightning later today, 4:15 p.m. on the networks of NBC Sports Network. Once again, check your local cable listings in that respect. I wanted to address the NBA playoffs and LeBron James for just a moment. LeBron James is in his 15th year at 33 years old. He's having one of his actually what I believe to be better years. We know that his record in the finals is somewhere along the lines of 3 wins and 5 losses. However, strangely enough, this finals looks a lot like the 2006-2007 team. I actually looked up the roster on that team, and he was the only person of note. He actually single-handedly led his team to the NBA Finals, where he lost 4-1 in that case. And I think LeBron James is in another position like that, in the sense that through 50 games, when Kobe Altman, general manager, and Tyronn Lue decided to blow up the roster, they only had 30 games to play. And even though I think Larry Nance has a lot of upside, Rodney Hood, of course, can play, and so can Jordan Clarkson, former Laker. He can score on his own. He can create his own shot, so that's a great thing for him. But 30 games does not a season make, and I really believe that the Cleveland Cavaliers are suffering because of the roster changes, and what that is doing is reflecting badly on LeBron James. 42, 10, and 12 his last game. Tonight's tip-off from Quicken Loans Arena will be 5:30 Pacific time on the Entertainment and Sports Programming Network. You're welcome to go ahead and tune that in. I'll be definitely tuning that in. Wanted to just say that strangely enough, LeBron James is in the same position he was in 2006, 2007, leading a team of non-contributors outside Kevin Love and perhaps Tristan Thompson and perhaps J.R. Smith. Nobody is consistently contributing for Cleveland, so LeBron has to actually do it himself, which is a disservice to him. But he's having a great playoff season. I think he had a pretty good year. Nobody in their 15th year, this late in their career, has had as productive a year that I can remember in quite some time. So if I'm wrong, then somebody will have to remind me. Mark at Access Media on Twitter, or you can go to the Contact Me page at accessmediaglobal.com. Okay? As far as the Houston Rockets and the Golden State Warriors, 1-1 here. The Houston Rockets destroyed the Golden State Warriors 127-105 in Game 2. Game 3 tomorrow night on the Turner Network television stations. Turner Network Television, 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Exclusive home of the Western Conference will be on Turner Network Television in the United States. Once again, for those of you listening around the world, and I appreciate you from Peru, from the Philippines, from the United Kingdom, from Namibia, from all around the world. You're checking in from Ireland. You're checking in from Singapore. Much appreciated. Happy to have the podcast and do the podcast and present the sports information for you at accessmediaglobal.com. One of the things that I'm doing specifically for podcast purposes, not my own, but presenting 2 podcasts, Richard Deitsch, who's now with The Athletic. He's left Sports Illustrated, and he is now doing his own podcast, which I feature weekly. And that's already up on the website. And if you need to find Richard Deitsch, you can always go to the search bar, DEITSCH, the Sports Media Podcast. He has interviews from all the major figures in U.S. sports. This week's one of the interviews that he did with the new voice was with the new voice of Monday Night Football for the new season, Joe Tessitore. He's done a lot of work with ESPN, including some work on the SEC network, among other ESPN properties. And so you'll enjoy that. He talks about the process by which Jason Witten and Booger McFarland were chosen to replace some on-air talent on behalf of ESPN and Monday Night Football. Bear in mind that Fox Sports will be carrying the Thursday night games. That schedule has been published. I do have the Raiders schedule, the Rams schedule, the Chargers schedule, and the Seahawks schedule available. Once again, you probably want to put in those on the search bar. They're not immediately up on the website, but they are available if you'd like to peruse those schedules. I'm going to have a podcast. I'm going to specifically go over scheduling for all those 4 teams as the season, football season gets closer. I want to also mention my MLB coverage. My MLB coverage consists of 4 teams: San Diego, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, the Seattle Mariners, and the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Dodgers right now are in the midst of a day-night doubleheader in Washington, D.C. against the Nationals. Don't have a score for you right now, but they are playing a day-night doubleheader. The first game started at 11:05 p.m. Pacific time. That was about an hour and 35 minutes ago based on when I'm recording this. Tonight's second game, the night portion of the doubleheader, will be at 5:05. It's finally quit raining in Washington, D.C. It's been raining all week, apparently. And the Dodgers, despite the fact that Logan Forsythe and Justin Turner have returned to the lineup, the Dodgers are still languishing, and they're actually about to overtake the Padres for the cellar spot, the basement spot in the National League West. The former National League champions, 104 wins last year, are actually on pace, as of yesterday, for 99 losses. So the fortunes in Los Angeles have changed markedly from last year. Obviously, Shin-Jin Ryu and Clayton Kershaw out. Rich Hill is going to be going with in the second game. I think we're going to see Max Scherzer throw for the Nationals later tonight. So you'll be wanting to tune in for that if you're able to see them and have them on your regional sports network and or a national broadcast. The Seattle Mariners, on the other hand, have lost second baseman Robinson Cano to a use of a diuretic masking medication, furosemide. Now, furosemide is essentially a water pill. It eliminates water in your system. However, MLB has banned that, and they proclaim it to be a masking agent to mask use of performance-enhancing drugs. Now, the Mariners' second baseman is going to be out 80 games, suspended without pay, losing $11.5 million this year. He'll be back August 14th, but will not be eligible to play in the postseason. The Mariners, however, are 25-20. A couple thoughts on the Mariners. Edwin Diaz, 15 saves in the back of the bullpen for the Seattle Mariners, and Scott Servais, 25-20. They're about 2.5 games out of first place. The Houston Astros and the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim are battling it out. I am watching a few more Angel games. I'm not an Angel fan per se, more Dodgers Mariners, if you ask me. But I am watching a few more games by virtue of the fact that Shohei Ohtani is doing an excellent job coming out of spring training, pitching and hitting the ball. All his 5 home runs that he does have been hit at Anaheim Stadium. The Angels are doing not that well at home. They need to rehabilitate their record at home. Similar to the Seattle Mariners, the Mariners are 25-20, but only 10-10 at Safeco Field and 15-9. 15-9 on the road. So what the Mariners will be doing is they'll be finishing up a 4-game series against the Detroit Tigers on Sunday. Tonight's game is 6:10 Pacific time. Tomorrow's game's at 1:10. They have a 3-game series in Oakland, and they're home for a 10-game homestand with the Tampa Bay Rays, the Texas Rangers, and the Oakland A's, I believe. So, I'm sorry, the Minnesota Twins. It'll be the Rangers, the Twins, and Tampa Bay for a 10-game homestand starting next Thursday, I believe, from Safeco Field. So, we'll be keeping track of some baseball. Also, the MLB Fastcast is just a little short daily synopsis of highlights, courtesy of MLB.com, that I feature. The podcast that I feature, Richard Deutsch Media Podcast. He's now with The Athletic. He left Sports Illustrated. And I also feature Jimmy Triano. I'm sorry, Jimmy Traina. Excuse me on that. Triano, Traina. I get those mixed up. Jimmy Traina has taken over for Richard Deutsch and the SI Sports Media Podcast. So I'm featuring him as well. I have posted the MLS Soccer Weekly Podcast. Both of those are up right now. And the NHL and MLB highlights. I also, during the NBA playoffs, have been posting daily highlights. There's been a little bit of a gap in the scheduling. There's been about a 3 to 4 day break for both Eastern and Western Conference teams as we look at that going forward. So I want you to continue to enjoy what's happening. I haven't done a podcast in quite some time. There's a lot of issues that we might want to cover. My next podcast, I'll be talking a little bit more about the United States Supreme Court approving most regulated gambling laws in the United States. Now, reports are that 32 states have laws and things that they're working on to put on the books for legalized sports betting in the United States, far beyond the normal places in the United States where gambling is allowed. That would be Atlantic City, New Jersey, and places like Las Vegas, Nevada, where sports betting is legal. Now, interestingly enough, there's the Las Vegas Knights leading 3-1 in the Western Conference NHL playoffs and conference championships. They're a game away from going to the Stanley Cup, and I guarantee you Las Vegas is going to lose a lot of money when it comes to the Vegas Knights, should the Vegas Knights ascend to the Stanley Cup championship, which they may very well do here as far as that particular circumstance goes. So I'm going to be doing some commentary on the gambling issues that the Supreme Court this week approved. Wanted to also point out that let's see. Not sure. Well, anything that I would need to bring forth, we brought forth on the next podcast. Want to wish everybody a great weekend. Next weekend, of course, Memorial Day, another day we look forward to in the United States. The Indianapolis 500 and the Brickyard will be a focal point in Indianapolis, Indiana, another rendition of the Indianapolis 500. Hopefully the weather will clear. Today we have the Preakness Stakes, and we're going to see if Justify, who won the Kentucky Derby a couple of weeks ago, can continue a trip toward the Triple Crown with a second leg from Pimlico and Baltimore. That's going to start in about 2 hours from Baltimore, Maryland. We'll see how the weather is in that respect. A lot of weather problems on the East Coast, things of this nature. So want to wish everyone a great weekend. I'm happy you're along. This is the From the Bench Sports Podcast. We'll be back next week, probably around, I'd say Thursday or Friday. We'll have some more commentary on some of the issues that I've mentioned. We're going to talk a little bit more about some baseball, some basketball, of course, as the Rockets and the Golden State Warriors continue to impress. One of the things I did want to say before I go regarding the Rockets. The Rockets, they've been accused of playing a lot of isolation ball with Chris Paul and James Harden. However, Chris Paul and James Harden would be considered what we call ball dominant. In other words, they like to have the ball in their hands. Now, Chris Paul has never made the Western Conference Finals. He's now 1-1, and in that dogfight, Steph Curry only had 18 points. I don't expect that to continue, but I am very impressed with Kevin Durant following up a 37-point performance with I believe he scored 38 in Game 2. We'll see what he does tomorrow night, once again, 5 o'clock Pacific time from Oracle Arena in Oakland, California. So we're looking forward to that. I just wanted to let you know the keys to Houston's success. Mike D'Antoni's never been really, really famous for defense. There's never been a real buy-in to that situation. Steve Kerr is a better defensive coach. However, they like to run and gun. They put up about 15 to 25 threes a game, if not more. They'll run and gun you, kind of similar to the old D'Antoni Phoenix offensive days when Steve Nash was running the show, and they'd run up and down the court and try to fire up shots within the first 12 seconds of the 24-second shot clock. Want to wish everyone a happy and healthy Memorial Day, a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week, along about Thursday or Friday. Stay tuned for the daily updates with the MLB, the NHL, and MLS, and the podcast, the Buster Olney MLB weekly podcast from May 14th to 18th is also up. So you can listen to Buster Olney as he talks to all the folks in the know, broadcasters and managers and players, and gives his takes on the MLB. So there you have it for AccessMediaGlobal.com and the From the Bench podcast. I'm Mark Janish for this May the 19th, 2018. Have a great day, everyone, and Thanks for listening.